I'm joined now by Sophie Elsworth, News Corp Australia's Europe correspondent. Sophie, very good morning to you. Let's play a little clip from for those people who haven't heard it yet, because if you just joined us, you might not have heard it. This is Keir Starmer talking at the White House. I have to say, ahead of time, and people have asked me to give a warning, if you are driving a car, be careful not to nod off. Have a listen.
Can I start where Emmanuel started, which is we all want peace. The war in Ukraine has had a huge impact, particularly on the Ukrainians who've borne the brunt of it, but it's also had an impact on Europe and on the United Kingdom. There's not a family or community that hasn't been affected. And when we talk about security, we're talking about the security not just of Ukraine, we're talking about the security of Europe and the United Kingdom as well, which is why this is such an important issue. I think this is such an important meeting. As a group, I think we've had a discussion on the phone a number of times, Mr. President, but be able now to be around the table to take it forward. And I really feel that we can, I think, with the right approach this afternoon, make real progress, particularly on the security guarantees, and your indication of security guarantees of some sort of Article 5 style guarantees fits with what we've been doing with the Coalition of the Willing, which we started some months ago, bringing countries together and showing that we were prepared to step up to the plate when it came to security.
I mean, Sophie, morning. You've done probably more of these international summits than I have. I mean, he's got this ability to speak without saying anything. He's not really saying anything at all. It's like, this is a very important meeting. You know, obviously we'll be trying to reach an agreement. You know, it's all kind of perfunctory nonsense, isn't it? I mean, Georgia Maloney starts playing with her hair, you know you've lost the room, don't you? Well,
I heard you speaking earlier this morning, Mark, saying the thing that the Brits have is their charm, and they're pretty funny people.
Yeah.
And I don't
Most of us are. He's not one of them.
And I don't think he isn't charismatic.
No.
And I think that's something that he's really lacking. Now, obviously, this was a very serious meeting. It's not time to pull out comedy, but he doesn't sort of work the room and use charm to win over these leaders. Look, we know he dumped his holiday. Apparently, he was in Scotland. He's rushed to this meeting. But as you say, Mike, there's a lot of words there, but what does it all mean?
There's no substance, really, is there?
There's no substance.
It's a kind of... I said this, and you know, I wasn't trying to be facetious. It sounded to me like the kind of conversations I had when I was in the student union, where you'd have some guy sitting down making a really big deal about nothing, you know, and saying, well, we've got to go forward, we've got to get standing order, we've got to vote at a conference, we've got... You know what I mean? It's that kind of, you know, almost union kind of speak, the way that they talk about things, which is not the way that normal people converse, really.
Well, there's a lot of words coming out, but what does it all mean? I did find it really interesting, Mike, in the meeting yesterday when each of the leaders was given their 60 seconds, 2 minutes to speak, and the US president forgot to mention the leader of Finland. He just left him there. And then he's like, oh, by the way, you've got 60 seconds. What do you have to say?
He's probably forgotten his name,
I thought it was a bit weird that they kind of all went around the room and had their tiny little speeches with not a lot to say.
Because in the end, there's nothing really that any of them can offer. At the end of the day, this is a deal that's going to be made between Zelensky and Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Those are the three people that count. The rest of them don't really matter.
And the new buzzwords, Mike, trilat, bilat, they're throwing those round. I mean, I've never heard trilat, bilat bandied around so much.
Exactly.
So it's all about, we're going to have a trilat, we're going to have a bilat, we're going to discuss, it's a lot of talk. Look, points to Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, he is trying to end this war, and he is doing what he can to do that. He's making those stepping stones to get to that point, but there was one man in that room that wasn't there, and that was Putin, and everything stops with him.
Yeah, of course. And if he doesn't agree to whatever it is that they agree in Washington, then all bets are off and it doesn't matter anyway.
That's right.
You know?
So they're going to have a bilat, they're going to have a trilat, and who knows what will come from that. But I did think it was productive to have them all in the one room, but then... You know, you're right. Do they all fly around the world? A lot of them are all pro-green. They're all flying around the world.
They're flying their own planes.
We have to do Zoom calls. A lot of us are sitting on Zoom calls now. But, you know, they're flying all around to have these moments there. I did think that Zelensky improved himself dramatically from that February meeting. He rocked up, he dressed well, he used charm, he even cracked a few jokes, and I thought he performed very well, and I thought Donald Trump was very respectful to him. I thought they were both
Trump,
on their
again,
best behaviour.
You know, having been slagged off at the beginning of the week by, you know, the usual suspects who don't like anything that he does, he's blown it, he's given it all away to Putin, you know, they've all gone very quiet because, you know, something's actually going on. There is a conversation, there is a deal, possibly on the table. Whether or not it involves the ending of Zelensky's career. I spoke to a Ukrainian MP earlier on who said if he does any kind of deal which involves giving away land, he's out. It's political suicide. If he does any kind of deal that doesn't involve us being able to question and possibly prosecute the Russians for war crimes, he's out. So, you know, it's a hard road to hoe, this, for him.
Well, that's what Trump has said, hasn't he? This is a very difficult war to end. And he's not really pushing the ceasefire line, even though some of the other world leaders are saying we must have a ceasefire. But I did think that it was a constructive meeting between Zelensky and Trump. And look, they love the theatre of it. Trump absolutely loved it when the media are just screaming at him. It's weird, though, because he did go on Truth Social in the lead up to the meeting, bagging the media, saying how disgraceful the media is. But then later on in the evening, he said, oh, the media has actually been quite good in this case. So
he just toys with them, though, doesn't he? That's what he does. He loves toying with them.
He loves it.
Because he knows that they have to get a story, they have to turn up, they can't blank him, they can't boycott the White House. They'll always be there.
But I do think, Mike, it's interesting, referring back to what you were talking about earlier this morning, is are British people, are people around the world sitting around their coffee tables, sitting at dinner with their family, talking about Ukraine?
No.
There's a lot of serious issues here in the UK alone.
Totally.
And Keir Starmer doesn't seem to be addressing them. And the big one, as you have very much prosecuted, is migration. Where is he doing trilats, bilats, having all these meetings about the issues here at home?
Exactly right. And even when he's had meetings with the European leaders in the past, it hasn't really ever been about immigration. It's been about food standards, it's been about, you know, energy, it's been about green policy. Hasn't really been about stopping the boats or what are we going to do about all these people we've now got running rampant around the country. Let's have a quick look at what Zelensky actually said when he was agreeing to this trilat meeting.
We show that we are strong people, and we supported the idea of the United States, of personally of President Trump, to stop this war, to make a diplomatic way of finishing this war, and we are ready for trilateral, as President said. This is a good signal about trilateral. I think this is very good.
Look, we just spoke to, I was just telling the President, I just spoke to President Putin indirectly, and we're going to have a phone call right after these meetings today. And we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues.
It sounds like some kind of, I don't know, no, I'm not going to say it, a trilat. It sounds like some kind of operation, doesn't it? Procedure that you might be going to the doctor for. Go for a trilat.
They're obsessed with trilats and bilats. But look, if this meeting comes off with Putin and Zelensky, they're talking about that it may even happen in Rome or Geneva.
In the next couple of weeks, maybe.
Next couple of weeks. I mean, that is the meeting that we really do care about, to get those two leaders across the coffee table talking together. If Trump can pull that off, then I think he's well on his way. But at the moment, he's laying the foundations, it appears, Mike, but he's just not quite there. But he's definitely doing, you have to give him points. He's trying to end this.
Absolutely right. But of course, the funny thing is as well, is that Keir Starmer, when he made that really dull little speech, said, you know, there's not a family that hasn't been affected by this. You know, and that's the other question a lot of people will be asking. Oh, okay, so if the reason why my energy costs are so high is Ukraine, if the reason why, you know, the loaf of bread I'm buying is because Ukraine, if they solve the war, does that mean the prices are going to come down? Because they aren't, are they?
Well, they often do blame when there's an issue. I know when I was living in Australia, it was the same thing. Whenever there was an issue, the government goes, oh, that's because of the war in Ukraine. It was a bit of an excuse. Everything's the war in Ukraine. You're right. If this ends, are milk prices, are coffee prices, are petrol prices, are they going to come down as a result of this war ending? Goodness hopes that they do, and let's all hope that the war does end, but there is still quite a way to go.
Yeah, absolutely right. Sophie, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Sophie Elsworth there, News Corp Australia's Europe correspondent.